Hi, I'm Samsun Lobe. Welcome to this episode of Collecting the Future. So here we have Pokemon TCG. So a really interesting collection this is, or the start of a collection. So there are a lot of other channels out there that will talk about Pokemon cards, and a lot of people that know way more than I do about the ins and outs of collecting these particular cards. I'm fairly new to collecting Pokemon cards, about 12 months probably, which is annoying because I remember them coming out in 1999, the Jungle series and Team Rocket, and I could have bought them for a couple of quid and didn't. So, you live and learn. But where we are with this, so it's the reason I've probably not collected Pokemon in the past is because, again, like some series of action figures like Star Wars and the rest of it, it's a massive collection and I just didn't know where to start. So after watching a few videos, we decided that we'd start collecting what we call master sets. So these are the particular Pokemons that we like, and we try and collect every version of those Pokemon from all the different sets. So Pokemon cards are released in eras, and there have been quite a few different eras: X and Y, Sun and Moon, Scarlet and Violet, and we're currently on Mega Evolution. And within each of those eras, there are lots of different sets. So they release usually between 3 and 5 sets every year. They came out in these boxes here, and they're known as ETBs, or Elite Trainer Boxes, or you can get booster boxes, and there are all different versions of other boxes that you can get, lots of different kinds. So we decided to collect master sets, and as you can see in front of me here, I have an EV set. So the way that we do it is we have our Volt X binders, and if you can see in here, we put all the different cards in. So thanks to Deep Pocket Monster for this brilliant idea. And then we collect all the cards, and once we have the whole set and all the ones that crosses on are the ones I've had graded. So you can see we'll work our way through the entire set. So I've started with EVs. I also have nearly a complete set of Tyranitar. So as you can see, they start from the older ones and then go all the way through to the newer cards. And then once I've collected the whole set of this, I will actually grade the majority of these. And in the back, I've just started Meowth as well, because I thought he was quite a cool character. My wife also collects these, and she collects EVs, Snorlaxes, Growlithes, and Arcanines. So the next point really is like, how do you buy the cards? So that's the hard part. So getting the trainer boxes is quite difficult, and we'll come on to the difference between boxes and graded cards and raw cards in a second. But obviously there's the obvious places like eBay and whatnot to buy them on auctions, and you can buy packs if you can get them in your local comic shops or the stores that sell Pokemon cards, and you can rip those packs and hopefully pull some of the cards you're after. But if you're after particular cards, then eBay is probably one of the best places, or go to one of the many Pokemon shows around the country, and there are loads. There's one every weekend somewhere, and we love going to those and just sort of nosing around and seeing what we can find. So the difference really, like if we're talking about cost of investment, that some of the cards here are only 50p to £1, and then they go all the way up to a few £100s, and it depending on what character if you're collecting a master set, what character you're after, that might go a lot higher as well, because some of the older cards now are fetching a lot of money, and there's still some modern cards which are a huge amount of money. The price of modern cards tends to fluctuate. So when they first come out, they go quite high. They then drop a bit, but then after time, they seem to hold their value. Most of the older cards hold their value now and are just on a upward trajectory. So they are quite a good investment. The way to make real money in Pokemon is through sealed boxes. So if you can buy these from the Pokemon Center or from your local stores at retail price, so ETBs around £50-60, then just sit on them for 10 years. Then they'll be worth a lot of money. So some of the original booster boxes and elite trainer boxes are worth £20,000-30,000, and they're only sort of 30, well, 20, nearly 30 years old. So it's a massive kind of investment. So for me, I collect sealed trainer boxes and I put those away and don't open those. We also often buy 2 and open 1, see what we can get, and then just put the rest away. So that's sort of a future piece. The other cards themselves, that's the fun part really, is if you enjoy collecting, then trying to build a whole set, collect all the ones that you need. That's part of the chase, is part of that. So let's go on to grading. So we covered grading briefly in the last episode when I was talking about the boys cards. So as you can see, none of these are PSA. So PSA is the de facto grader based in the US, and PSA cards reach maximum value. So if you want the maximum value from a card, it probably has to be PSA. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think that if it's a professional company grading it grade 10, then it's a grade 10. And if you took that card and popped it out of that case and gave it to PSA, it's still likely to be a 10. So I think, you know, if you're going to collect and you want to collect slabs, then a 10 from any grader, I think, is still worth it. The problem comes really with the grading process. So you have to be really careful what cards you send off for grading. I haven't been too fussy with these just because I want the whole lot graded. So I've got some real low grades and I've got some Gem Mint 10s. There's a real variation of these. But you really need to pay close look at the condition of your cards. So making sure they're clean, making sure they've got no creases, making sure the card is being printed in the center of the card. There are lots of apps you can get that you can actually try and work out roughly what grade you're going to get before you send it away. So that's something to look at. Then there's the grading companies themselves. So there's a real mixed bag, I think, is the fairest way to say it. And there's a lot of comments online about companies losing cards, not sending them back, damaging cards, and then maybe selling them on. I'm not really sure whether that's true. All I can say is my experience with grading companies. So there's a few different ones here. So I originally wanted to grade with Ace, but they closed their submissions, I think, because they have a huge backlog. They've also increased their prices substantially in line with some of the other graders. So I don't really know what they're like. So a lot of these are done with Aura. So Aura were really competitive in price. They do the color matching labels at the top, which look really cool. And they did like a 6-day turnaround. But that 6 days turned into 3 months for most of my cards. So not the best experience with them. They turned them around in the end. And I wish the communication had been better. But there you go. It is what it is. I've also used Get Graded, and they've been very good. We used them a couple of times in shows, and they've turned them around fairly quickly. And most of my stuff that is at the graders at the moment is still back with Majesty Grading Company. So out of all the grading companies that I've used, Majesty is still the best for me. Their communication is excellent. When you send the cards off, they tell you when they've got them, they tell what stage of the process they're at, and they all come back on time, which is great. So that's all you can rely on, especially if you're sending off expensive cards. So that's it. This is just a quick introduction. I think we'll do a few more videos on Pokemon cards, but thanks for watching. Please check out my other videos.
It's not a superpower. Just wandering down the street one day, a one-eyed stranger came my way. He said, "Do you want to buy a comic, son? So lucky, It was a Batman #1.